Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Turf. I am Frederick and today we are going to be talking a bit on our broiler chicken operation that we have here and how it is that we manage to produce 200 pounds of meat every 6 weeks. Stay tuned. So one of the first things, guys, I want to let you know before I get into the video is that I am no professional chicken expert. This is just how we do things here on Turf. So if you see, us doing something incorrectly or there's something that we could adjust, please drop it down in the comment section and let us know, as we are no professionals here. We are doing this based on what we have researched and based on experience over the years. So let's jump right into the meat of the matter and talk to you guys about how it is that we run our operation here on Turf. So one of the first things that we try to do whenever we are going to get a new batch of chicks is to ensure that their area is set up. So that includes miracle water, and I'll talk to you a bit more on that, feed, as well as fresh dry shavings. Also, we try to ensure that the area is not too much open, where we have a bit of warmness, and to ensure that the chicks get a good start. Now, one of the most important things that we try to accomplish here is reduce the whole stress and all of that. So as I mentioned earlier, we do provide miracle water for our chickens, and again, that's just a loose term that we use here on Turf, and that's just simply us mixing garlic, sugar, and we boil those. And what happens is they get the energy from the sugar and they build their immune system a bit with the garlic. From time to time we may add cloves depending on whether we have it or not. However, our base for our miracle water is garlic and sugar, and it works quite well. So one of the things that we also do, guys, is when we're putting the chicks inside their cage, we ensure that we have the miracle water set up on spot, and we dip each chicken individually, beak inside the water, to have them take a sip of that miracle water to give them a good start. And we do see where it has made an impact, and it shows a difference when we don't have it. We also do that on a weekly basis, so every time they hit a week milestone, we give them the miracle water inside their water container. So all we do, we just go ahead, pull off the lid, and we pour in the miracle water solution, and it gravity feeds all the way to the chicks. So that's one of the things that we do here to ensure that our chickens get a good start. As the chickens start to grow, guys, one of the things that we ensure to do is to add grit. So grit is basically sand or small pebbles that the chickens can use. They can ingest those, and it helps to break down the food or crush the food inside their stomach walls. Chickens don't have teeth, so what it does is basically to act as a teeth, help grinding up the feed inside the chicken, what they would call the gizzard, and also it is inside the crop. So we find that when we use that method, we do see where the chickens eat less and give us the same weight targets that we set out to accomplish. So we recently added some grits. Let me see, one of the closest areas would be, still don't know their owner. Alright, so right here, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but they're scratched. Not sure how you can see the stone, the small pebbles within the sawdust. But this is one of the areas that we tend to put it, because I guess they get so used to it being in this area that they always come here, scratch and pick at it. So I'm not sure how well you're seeing it, but yes, if I can get the camera to focus. But there are the stones, the grits, and they eat it up. Right, so as for the water, we try to ensure that it is cleaned every morning to prevent bacteria buildup, because it does get slimy throughout the day once the chickens are drinking from it, and they do scratch up shavings in it and it gets a bit dirty. So we try to ensure that every morning we clean it. Chantel is the one that really enforces this. She uses bleach with a dishcloth and wipe it down each morning. Back to the grit, guys. One of the things that we ensure that we do is to try and give the chicken free choice grit, and it is something that we try to have them do in a normal manner. We normally put it in a container. However, they would go in the container, they would scratch it up on themselves, and it would be chaos all over in the cage. So what we do is just put it in the cage, free choice, in separate sections of the cage, and then they will go and choose to pick it up whenever they need. Yes, they scratch it all over the cage. However, through scratching, they pick it up, and it's basically a natural chicken behavior. And we do see it inside their crop and inside their gizzard during processing day, so we know that they're eating it, and it also shows in the feed consumption versus the amount of meat that we are getting. So right now, guys, it's still during the peak hours of the day, so as you can see, they're panting a bit. However, one of the ways in which we combat that is by adding ventilation. So as you can see, this is just an old fan, we had gotten, and we say, like, hey, let's just set it up and provide a bit of ventilation, or air circulation rather, through the cages. And as you can see, the chickens are loving it. Alright, guys, it's getting a bit hot here, and you can just imagine I am outside in the open and they are inside a closed space. So that's what I'm going to talk about next, is the whole fact that, sorry ladies, are eating their midday meal. So one of the things that we find hampers our production a bit in terms of growth rate is the fact that it is very hot, very, very hot, I tell you. And we find that instead of the chickens eat more throughout the days, they just lie down. They drink water, but they tend to lie down mostly. We tried combating that with cardboard, the use of cardboard in the past. However, we found out that it was just a breeding site for cockroaches, so we had to abandon that plan very, very quickly. Based on how things are configured here on turf, we have to build on the fence, and as you can see behind me, yeah, you can see behind, yeah, the fence is zinc. So it's a zinc fence, and it goes all the way in the coop, right? So that's another issue that we have, the heat from the zinc. So it's zinc top and zinc back. Again, similar to how the rabbits are kept. One of the things that we tried doing in the earlier stages was to add cardboard to the top. Since we can't add it inside the cage, we tried adding it to the top, so as you can see here. However, not much change. We don't really see much of a difference when it comes to the heat. The sweat is getting in my eyes. One of the problems that we have when it rains is what happened, the water from the edge of the zinc right there, it drips on the side, come down on the mesh, and it wets inside the cage. Now we had to make the zinc short. As you can see, let me see if I can show you the space between the wall and the coop is less than 2.5 feet. See? It just barely fits me. So we had to make the zinc tail short so that we can accommodate traveling around here. And one of the ways we combat, when we're in falls and it mess up the cage and get the wood shavings wet, is the use of feed bags. So, once it's raining, we come out and we drop them down like this. We just cut them, open them up, and we drop them down. So, just an example. So what happens when the water fall, run off, it runs on the feed bag and run down to the ground. So that's one of the ways we combat that issue. How we initially built the cage, using the same wire that we have on the rabbit cages. So the same wire that we have on the rabbit cages, it's the same wire we use on the coop, because in the initial stages we had designed it to have the chickens waste fall out, and that's really what we wanted to do, to prevent having to do sawdust, which is an added expense, and also having to do the cleaning of the cage, in the sense that we have to remove cardboard. However, the chickens, acting as chickens, they started scratching on the mesh, cutting up their feet, battering their wings, and we knew that we had to go ahead and find a solution for that. So what we did, we got cardboard, laid them out. You guys are so crazy. So as you can see, guys, it's just cardboard. We throw the wood shavings on top of it, and they go to town and enjoy themselves being chickens. So guys, another thing that we do here on turf is to ensure that we, on a weekly basis, we try to get some target weights on the chickens. And how we do that, we weigh about 10% of the batch, and for our case, raising 50, it's normally about 5. Sometimes we do a bit more, but we never do less than 5. And what that does is give us an idea of what it is that we are targeting, because we do have a target goal. So it gives us an idea of how the chickens progressing and how it is that we as farmers should adjust based on how the chickens are growing. One of the ways in which we go ahead to cut costs is to ensure that whatever materials that we don't have, and it might be a bit more expensive, we try to build them. And one such material is one of our starter feeders, for the chickens to really get some level of ease when eating from them. So because the lips are too big, we modify these self-made ones to accommodate the younger chickens much better. We do the same thing for our waterers. However, the chickens aren't always the most gracious when it comes to their water being on the ground, so they tend to scratch up the sawdust in it more, and we have to change it quite so often. So we had to resort to the regular 1-gallon waterers that they sell at the store, as we can modify and elevate it a bit as the chickens grow. Upon the chickens reaching target weight at about 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks tops, we don't allow them to go beyond the 6-week 4-day period, as it no longer becomes economically or financially viable, as the chickens will now eat more feed and put on the weight much slower. So we try to ensure that our chickens are at market weight by latest 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks, and we process them. We generally strike for the 4-pound mark carcass value, or carcass weight rather. So we strive for the 4-pound mark for carcass weight, and that would roughly be about 5 5.5 to 5.75 pound live weight. One of the things that we also find out is that chickens tend to do well with light during the night period. However, we don't necessarily have that option. As you can see, we have a light there and it does reflect inside the cage. However, it's not a case where they have their own light. So occasionally when during the night I come and check that window, I normally see them sleeping mostly. We will have one or two that get up and eat. However, they are not much active during the night eating. So during the days is when they really eat most of the feed. And I think that is another challenge that we face, is if we can have them eating right throughout the night. I mean, which is not necessarily the best case, but if we can have them eating right around the clock, then that would be very good for us. We reach the market size much quicker. So it's possible that we could even reach it before the 6 weeks period. But all in all, it's a very small system, and most persons when they come here, they don't even know that we have a boiler operation going on. Whenever persons come to us, they look, they see the goats all the way down there, they see the rabbits, but once they hit this corner right here, it's a whole different level of feeling, because persons don't normally expect to see broiler chickens being raised in such a confined space. It is a very wonderful experience, having them here. It teaches us a whole lot, and we try our best to learn from this, so that if it is that we should go large scale when we go on the farm, then it is something that we will already have a full understanding of. And the experience so far, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very good experience. There are days when things get bad, because there have been days when I have come here, and I remember there was a specific time when I went to a funeral, a family member of mine, and when I came back home, forgetting to turn on the fan, when we came back home from the funeral, out of the 50 chicks that were in the coop, we only were able to process 9. Everything lie down flat, dead. So it's a case where there are days when it's going to be rough, and there are days when it's going to be good, and then there are days when it's just going to be okay. I mean, at 5 weeks, with only a week remaining to be processed, you come home and see 40 plus chickens dead out of 50. That's really nerve-wracking. And I think one of the greatest thing is, with being a farmer, you can't just be a farmer for a day or be a farmer for the money. But not saying that you're not supposed to look in the aspect of making money, but you have to really love it to really do it, because that's really what's going to drive you at the end of the day, the passion for it. Because you're going to have bad days, you're going to have days when you just don't want to wake up and do this anymore, but you just go back to your vision, your goals, and you will push through. So that's pretty much it from us here at Turf today, guys, on our broiler chicken operation. We will be having another video before we process out these guys, to give you an update of what it is that they look like. So you can stay tuned for that. And if it is that you have not yet subscribed to the channel, guys, we really would appreciate it. And if it is that you like the video, you can go ahead and leave a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment if you see us doing anything that we can adjust or make better, or if you have any tips rather, of how we can do something differently to get a better result. So we really appreciate that. And if you know someone who would be interested in this type of content, feel free to share it to them. So until then, guys, we here at Turf wishing all of you a blessed day.